Well, we're joined now by Professor Gregory Gordon, former war crimes prosecutor at the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. He's now law professor at the University of North Dakota and joins us from Hong Kong. Thank you very much for speaking to us. How are you viewing the proceedings at The Hague today?
It's an historic occasion. It's the first time in the history of the world that a leader has been found guilty of atrocities before an international criminal court.
Are you surprised?
So it's very historic, very significant.
Are you surprised at any elements of what has come out?
A little bit. I frankly would have thought that there would be a finding that Mr. Taylor was more involved with respect to his criminal responsibility. The verdict turned out to be essentially accomplice liability, and I expected that he would be found to be a principal, either through joint criminal enterprise liability or through command responsibility.
Does that illustrate the problems, the difficulties?
And that ended up not being the case.
In gathering evidence? Apologies for interrupting you. There's a terrible echo on the line.
No problem. Well, I think it does show the difficulties in establishing a case of this magnitude at this level. These cases are difficult to prove. However, there did seem to be some compelling evidence against Mr. Taylor. On the other hand, he never really set foot in Sierra Leone, and a lot of the evidence was circumstantial. And when you're relying on witnesses like Naomi Campbell and Mia Farrow to show that he had responsibility, it may mean that it's a bit too tenuous.
What do you view as the ramifications of this case for future cases, present situations around the world?
You know, I remember a few years ago when the first prosecutor, David Crane, for the Special Court for Sierra Leone, talked about whether or not there would be an African exception to the fight against impunity. And that was at a time, this was back in around 2005, when Taylor was in Nigeria. He had been indicted, but at that point he had found safe haven in Nigeria. And ultimately he was taken to The Hague, and he did face justice. He has been found guilty. I think what this means is that leaders will not be shielded from immunity by the fact that they are a head of state, that folks like Bashir, Laurent Gbagbo, the former Ivorian president, and many others, such as Muammar Gaddafi, are now that they will be found guilty if they commit these kinds of crimes.
Professor Gregory Gordon joining us from Hong Kong. We appreciate you giving us your time, and thanks for bearing with us despite the delay on the line. Thanks very much.